welcome back. And I had a hard time deciding what I wanted to do today because there was so many like little options. And then I got to thinking about it. It is almost Thanksgiving and I have a lot to be thankful for this year. And I thought, but what bookish stuff do I have to be thankful for? Because that's a big part of my life. You know, I write them, I read them, I talk about them, I interview authors who write them. I mean, I have a lot of bookishness. My daughter makes bookish merch. You know, I mean, we're a bookish kind of family. And Toothless is like, give me all the attention. I want all the attention. Let me lick you. Anyway, so, I know, you too. See, if it's not one, it's the other. Okay, come here. I will pet you. I can pet you too. Hey, I pet you. It's his turn. It's his turn. Oh, goodness. They're needy. They're so needy. But, so I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Okay, a couple funny things. This is what Shatona does. Shatona says, I think I want to talk about the bookish things I'm thankful for this year. It's like, this is our Thanksgiving bookish table, and we're all sitting around talking about what we're thankful for, right? So I come up with these ideas, and I go, well, what kinds of bookish things would I be thankful for, right? And so I come up with these kinds of, I know, I'm thankful for Neville's, but you're not bookish. But your name came from a book. This is Neville Longbottom. See? I wanted him to be Slobberous Snape. He's black, right? No. He's toothless. Apparently it's from some movie. Whatever. My son has no taste in dog names. Yeah, I know. He really should have been a dog mentor or something, but anywho, so, but yeah, so I come up with this idea. I started thinking about the kinds of things I was thankful for. I got all done. I have my little cheat sheet here, so I don't forget the things that I wanted to mention. And then it dawns on me, there's probably a Thanksgiving book tag out there, which is kind of sort of what this kind of sort of is. But oh well, I'm not really calling it a tag, but if you think about it, I've come up with things I'm thankful for and I'm sharing it. If I tagged someone, it would make it a tag. So why didn't I just do someone anyway? Whatever. Doesn't matter. So there could be a tag out there, and some of these could be on that tag. I don't even know. And I don't think I care. Okay, can you tell that I'm still suffering from all that is... I wonder, should I turn the heater off? I'm not going to turn the heater off. It's cold. It's going to get down to like 34 tonight. So yeah, I'm just going to deal with the coldness and the air, and we're just going to move on. But it has been crazy. You know, we had all the gas problem, and then last week I couldn't do stuff because they came on Wednesday, so Thursday couldn't have a video. They came on Wednesday and they blew out our heater. The guy from the gas company said, you know, the flame is coming out blue, but it's kind of rolling. It needs to be, you know, blown out. Well, the guy who came to do it from the HVAC company had no idea what what this PG&E guy was talking about. He was like, well, I can blow it. So he starts blowing. I had to leave the house, and I took my mom to the store because there was so much soot in our house. I couldn't breathe. I mean, I don't know how I escaped a full-blown asthma attack. I had lung issues, and I had to drink a lot of Coke and a lot of tea to try to avoid using my inhaler. And yes, I had to use my inhaler, but it wasn't if I don't get my nebulizer going now, I'm going to die moment. So I don't know how that happened, but I think it's because I left. And because it did settle pretty reasonably, we kept the air flowing through the house, and I stayed, you know, back behind the cross breeze to kind of, you know, it helped. It really did help. But I'm not kidding you. So I started with the bathroom because, you know, it just blew right in there. That was the biggest. And, you know, we have gray walls already. So you don't really notice that it's dirty until you take your cloth. And at first I was starting with Clorox wipes because I really wanted to get down into it and make sure we got it all up. Yeah, those were the worst decision I could have made. Then we have, I don't know where we got them because I use cotton, but I found these, we've got like half a dozen of these microfiber cloths. I hate the feel of those things like nobody's business. But let me tell you, they were the best thing for getting this off. It was unbelievable. So I'm wiping off the wall, and you're smearing it. So you're rinsing it and you're doing it again, and you're rinsing it and you're doing it again. You think you've got it all done. So you leave, but then you come back in the room because you're exhausted because you just scrubbed all the walls, right? You come back in the room like half an hour later and the light has shifted, or you're in a different place and you see the streak and you're like, oh, I missed a little spot. So you take your rag and you wipe that spot and there's a whole new clean area. It's taking at least 4 passes for every single spot. Some things take more. The slicker the surface, the more passes it's taking me. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. I'm hoping it's going to be clean by Thanksgiving when people are here, because I don't even know if I'm going to make it. There's just soot everywhere. And it got to the point where I just get so exhausted scrubbing that I have to stop. So, should I be in there right now? Yes. Am I? No, I'm done. I don't want to scrub right now. So instead, we're going to be thankful for books instead of thankful for heaters that blow beautifully now, except the guy's like, I don't know what he was talking about, because it was fine, and it's fine still. And I don't know what his deal was. So we may have paid an extra $100 to have someone come and create a total nightmare of a mess in our house for nothing. Not thankful for that, but thankful that we have a heater and that my $645, I think, gas bill was for 3 weeks last month, 3 weeks of this month, it was $32.50. Just saying. Yeah. Very happy about that. So, Thanksgiving for books, book gratitude, all the stuffness. We're going to do this. So the first thing I came up with was, and I had to limit myself to this year. And when I do these book kind of things, I tend not to bring up the Bible, because to me that feels like a given. If you ask my favorite book, if I can only own one book, I'm going to say the Bible, right? It's not even I wouldn't have to think. It's that. Take the rest. You leave my Bible. I mean, that's just like, yes, but are you comfortable? He's sitting on top of the chair, on top of a pillow, on top of a blanket that has my laptop on top of that. Okay. But anyway, but I was like, I'm going to do that. So I'm actually going to allow myself to. I'm going to point out a very specific Bible. This is my newest Bible. It's the Berean Study Bible. And what they did that I really like, because I'm a very strong word-for-word translation gal. And that's one of the reasons why the New American Standard is my favorite. Because I find the ESV, English Standard Version, I find it clunky. But New American Standard isn't clunky to me. Other people have opposite opinions. I'm okay with that. The point is to read the book, right? But books like NIV and NLT, those are considered thought for thought. They go and they read the original and they go for, what is this really trying to say in that language, because it doesn't translate well to English. And I get that, but I want word for word. I can go to the Greek and compare myself. I want the actual words. I want an accurate translation. Well, this and a few others like it, the Berean Study Bible, they combined those two things. From what it sounds like, they took as much of the word for word as they possibly could and kept it that way. And they actually put both in there. You'll see where they switched to thought for thought in the notes. But where it isn't as clear, or where English words have a slightly different meaning than the Greek equivalent, they went thought for thought. And I thought that was really smart. And so I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to see how I like it. It reads so smoothly. It has such clarity. And yet those who are familiar with New American Standard, I feel like they're going to read this and go, it sounds an awful lot like New American, and because it does, but it's not quite the same. It's thought for thought as well as word for word. There, you can tell in places where I know how the New American Standard reads. I every once in a while I'll see this different. I'm like, oh, I see what they did there. Okay, yeah, I get that. whatever, dudeless. So this year, book I'm thankful for is very specifically my Berean Study Bible. I've only had this for like 3 or 4 years, and I'm kind of wearing it out, I'll admit it, but that's okay because it's getting use, and that's the point, right? So I had to include that. Although fictionally speaking, I'm kind of surprised. I went through all the books that I've read this year and chose one book. I didn't try to do from all the books I've ever read, because that would drive all of us nuts, right? Me sitting here going, well, it could be this, or it could be that, or it could be this. So I went and I made myself drill down to one book I've read this year that I'm most thankful for. And I decided on The Curate of Glaston, which is 3 books. It has Curate's Awakening, Lady's Confession, Baron's Apprenticeship, all in one. It's just this one area, and the one guy, the curate, Thomas Winfield, the curate, he is a central part of all of these stories as well. So, but I decided this one because this is the one that has pointed me back to truth, back to the word, back to the Lord. What is he saying? What, all the little quotes that remind me to focus on Christ alone is the one I think about the most often at, I don't want to say the end of the day, if you will, but, compared to all the other ones, this is the one that I go, what did he say in there? And I'll go look at it, because it'll then remind me of what I want to look at in scripture. And so of all the books, the book I'm most thankful for this year that I've read up to today, this is the 17th of November. Okay, it's probably rolled over to the 18th, but same smell. Okay, just work with me. But yeah, I'm going to say this one, The Curate of Glaston, and I highly recommend it. This might be my top book of the year, period. But I feel like that's kind of cheating because I have read a couple of these before. Probably. So this is my, book that I'm most thankful for this year, because this one really has spoken to my heart the most. So there's that. And then the next thing, obviously, if I'm going to go with a book, then what author this year's author am I most thankful for? And I had a hard time with this one because there were lots of little things. I mean, like, I really have had a lot of fun with Trollope this year. And so I felt like, it kind of fits, maybe, but I don't know that I'm most thankful for him. I'm maybe thankful for reading them this year, but I don't know that I can say I'm most thankful for him. So I pushed that aside. And then there's guys like Benedict Brown. I love the way he uses words, and I love the characters he creates, and I love so much. I love his plots, and there's just so much about him that I love. And when you read authors that do things the way you like, it teaches you just by reading to pay attention to what you're doing. And I have noticed that a couple of times when I've started to word something some way that I've kind of pulled back and went, but wait a minute, I think I can say that better. And I give authors like Benedict Brown credit for that. And I would say also George MacDonald and a few others are the same in that they are careful and deliberate with how they word things, and when they are, it just reinforces that you need to do that. So I could go there. Obviously, D.E. Stevenson. I started going down this list, and I'm like, what am I going to decide? And then I realized the author, not the book, but the actual author who's made the biggest impact on me, the most unexpected impact on me, and the one I'm most grateful that I took a chance on this year and read. I can't believe I'm saying this. I have so much to say. It's not even funny. You guys, I may have to do an entire video just on this book, and it will make sense the minute I show it, but Dostoevsky, the Brothers Karamazov, I had no idea. There is such richness in this book. I mean, I knew that there was this one part for sure that did, because it's why I bought the book. I bought this entire book and decided to read it and stuck it on the Chantal Read Yourself Challenge and all the stuffness because of one little snippet that I read somewhere from it. And I went, wow. And I'm trying to remember where I read that. I want to say Peterson, but I don't think it was. Maybe it was Madeline L'Engle. I was reading somebody else and they shared this snippet from this book. Something about the Inquisitor, maybe? I don't know. But it was so good. It was so good that I bought the book and stuck it on the shelf. And then I was like, I will never read this unless I get going. So I got going. And wow, the spiritual depth and richness in this book is phenomenal. Now look, I'm not going to pretend like I agree with him theologically on everything. He kind of has, in a couple of places, he's kind of leaned toward, if you're poor and suffering, you're more godly. That's oversimplifying what I'm saying. I don't know how else to put it. And so, not quite, but there are spots where people are talking, and if you know scripture well, if you are really familiar with scripture, it's almost like he's woven scripture, he's created conversation out of scripture just to come out of their mouths while they're talking. And it's so natural and rich and deep. It's like when I'm sitting and having conversations with friends and we're just talking about the Lord and we're talking about the things that he has said in his word. And it's just this back and forth, and it's part of our conversation. It's kind of like, for an example, I remember the day that I was having a really bad day. I had a bunch of little kids. I was probably pregnant or morning sick and or nursing. One of them. And for all I know, I was also potty training, because those tended to happen a lot together. But I mean, it was a bad day, and it was like everything that could go wrong had gone wrong. And a friend of mine called and she asked how I was doing. She had a question for me. She asked how I was doing, and I'm like, these kids are going to be the death of me. And her response, she's just the sweetest, most gentle lady. And so her just imagine this super, super, super sweet voice saying, but Shatona, that's good. We're supposed to die to ourselves. That is good. Yes, let it be the death of you. And it was just that. And we just had this back and forth. That's what reading this book is like. That interaction, it's so rich. And it's funny because the story itself isn't what's grabbing me. It's not that I'm bored. I'm not bored. Lots of things are happening, and I'm not sure where they all fit together. And I don't know that I'm going to know by the time I'm done with it. But I don't care, because I'm getting so much richness and depth from it. So I'm just really most grateful for Dostoevsky this year, because I started looking up Tolstoy and a few others, and I realized that I've kind of pushed away Russian authors because I didn't expect to get this kind of thing from them. I just thought that they were, basically the Charles Dickens of Russian literature. No. Dostoevsky is to Dickens as the Bible is to Beatrix Potter from me. That's a little strong, but I'm just like, it's like night and day, the depth in this thing. And so I'm loving it, and I'm so grateful. Now, I've been working on my, I wanted to give Chantal from Chantal Reads All Day, I wanted to give her a year after she did her DIY lit degree. I wanted to see how that first year went and all the things before I tried it, right? So I've been working on my notebook and getting my ideas. And because of this book, is that a folded back page? No, it's just a little tear. Okay. Because of this book, I put as one of the areas of study 19th century Russian literature. And it's going to be a thing. It's going to be a hard thing, but it's going to be a thing, because wow. Just wow. And that's just getting me started on it. I have so much to say. probably should cut some of that out. Yeah, that's a nice segue, and it wasn't even intended to be. So the next thing I was like, okay, Booktube. What Booktuber, you know, am I most grateful for? I don't like that. You know, that was where I was going with it. And I was like, I can't do that. But there are lots of Booktubers that I am grateful for. And I will probably end with who has made the biggest impact on me. And you can see where that's going to go, right? But, you know, people like Mitzi and Miriam and Anne. I miss Catherine. Catherine used to have more videos than she does right now. Would you like to go outside? You could go outside. Go outside? Okay. It's let me reverse of it. So it's actually like Mitzi Reads and Write and Miriam Elizabeth Reads. I don't know. And Anne of In Search of Wonder. And Ashley. I don't remember what her channel name is because she's Ashley to me. I'm trying to think who else. Really, there's a guy, I can't remember his name. He lives in Wisconsin and he's an author. I will try to put his name. I really enjoy his videos. He's great. He's a young guy. He's a writer and he writes like fantasy and he reads some really, really good books. And so, definitely him. There's so I'm missing people. Krista from Books and Jams. Duh. Yes, because her. I'm trying to think of who else. I'd say Shalise, but the woman is like working all day and doesn't do any booktubishness because she has to, I don't know, sleep. I don't know what her problem is. Someone should have told her mother to raise her better or something. Anyway, but there's all those, but the booktuber who encouraged me, inspired me, all the me's, to do this in the first place was Chantal from Chantal Reads All Day. I found her. I feel like I could be getting my wires crossed, but I feel like I found her and mentioned her to Shalise, and Shalise knew her, and that's why I kept listening because I liked that first video that I watched, and I was like, I could get behind this. I think she was reading Carrie Stewart Parks at the time, and I was like, do I want to read these? You know, and I think that's why I brought it up to Shalise. But she also had the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, which has really affected and inspired, and I can't think of what else. Insert all the words here. My reading. So there's that, but so much. There's just it's so hard because I want so many things. But if anyone has had the biggest, most significant impact on my reading, I would have to say it is her, and it's because of the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. It's because you know, her in her Patreon, she really encouraged us to consider why we would or wouldn't want to, you know, start a channel. And something she said was like, that's what I can use the channel I already had for, and B, deal with my need to verbally vomit all the things that I try not to do it to my husband, bless his heart. Sometimes he just has to deal, but you know, she did that. But then the DIY literature degree, when she came up with that, I wanted to jump on it right then. And I remember thinking, I need to hold off. I need to see how she does for a year. And I'm really glad I did, because if I hadn't, this whole year was such a topsy-turvy, everything that could go wrong kind of thing. Actually, more could go wrong, and I don't even want to think about that. But you know, it would not have been a good year to start. So I've had all year to think about it, all year to plan it. I got to watch her, how my first year went and what she's doing for her next year kind of thing, all those videos. And so I'm ready for it. But she put a lot of work into that, and I'm really, really grateful for it. So for Booktuber, I'm going to say Chantal from Chantal Reads All Day, but it's really the Booktube community that I'm grateful for. But that wasn't the question. What is the sticky note from? It's really funny. These are the sticky notes that I got from Becca Kinzer. Aren't they super cute? From Dear Henry Levy. All right. Okay, so the next one was some booktube moment or memory. And I really thought, because there were a lot, you know, there's been a lot going on this year. Lots of cool things, like, you know, Krista putting up the books free. That was a big thing for me. I was like, yes, this is great. This is wonderful. But I'll link her channel. You go listen to well, I'm telling you to listen to my book, so that sounds really arrogant. I don't mean it that way. I just mean I want to support Krista for all the work she's done getting these things done. But it does sound very self-serving, doesn't it? Too bad. So sad. Anyway, so from Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving this year, we had Kevin's accident where I thought he was dead. They thought he was dead, and he didn't die. And he didn't have permanent brain damage of the sort that, you know, drastically affected his ability to live. The guy still rides his bicycle. He's on Thursday, I went for my walk at 3:34 in the morning. I went later than usual. It was about 3:30, 3:45. And so I wasn't going to get home until like 5-10 minutes before 5. Well, he leaves at 5:08, and I needed to drive him to the van. So I did the math. I'm like, this is good. I can just take my normal walk. I don't have to rush. Well, you know, he sent a message out. I wasn't even home. He sends a message out saying, hey, are you going to be able to take me? And I'm walking. My phone never rings. I have notifications off. Do not disturb on. I never get a ring. I never get a ding. I never get a buzz. It doesn't happen. So I have no idea he's messaged me. So he decided to walk down. It's, I don't know, 2 miles? It's no more than 3 for sure, but I think it's like 2 miles to the old Walmart parking lot. Yeah, when he walked across this dirt patch to get to the van, he's almost there. There's like this divot or something. He tripped, conked his head on the curb, and he's got this horrible black eye. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. And then he lost the keys that were in his hand. You know, that he dropped them, and so they had to find the keys, and he made it fine. And I was like, I was home. I mean, I literally must have walked up the door about the time he hit our corner, except I didn't see anybody walking, or I would have known. But it had to have been pretty close to when he left for him to be able to get there in time. So I was like, I was coming, you know. But oh well, you know, he's fine, everything's fine. But you know, you guys, BookTube, I mean, and Facebook and my readers and the people on my message board and stuff, everybody prayed. There were people praying for him from all over the world, but you guys prayed for me, for our family, for months. And I am so grateful for that. When the gas thing hit, you guys prayed. And I am so thankful for that, because, you know, it's a big deal when things like that happen, when you know that you've got that prayer cover behind you. So yeah, those are my moments / memories this year, particularly his accident, and then the gas thing. Those two in particular, you guys prayed us through this stuff, and we're very grateful. So that made it. But the reason is because BookTube has some really amazing people, and I'm definitely very grateful for you. So then I wanted to think about like a book friend, you know, someone who has, you know, just been really a great book friend to me over the years. And I tried to limit it to this year, and that actually made it harder. I was just like, I don't even know where to begin then. You know, there's so many people, and if I start talking about it, I won't be able to shut up. So I pulled back, and I was like, okay, through my life, who has been someone who has just really, really, really encouraged me with helping me find good books? And I was able to then kind of limit it down to 3, which I'm gonna say, I'm gonna stick to those 3. This is hard, but that made it a lot easier. So the first one, gotta see what order I met people. So I'm going to go in the order of how I met. So the first one was Kelly. She is the one who introduced me to some of my favorite children's authors. She introduced me to Tasha Tudor, Marguerite D'Angeli, Cornelia Meggs, Nesbit, Railway Children, Elizabeth Enright. You know, so many of those classic, amazing children's authors I learned about through her. The Delaries. I could go all day. I have to stop. I have to stop. But she taught me. I always loved children's fiction and I always read it, but she taught me the value of it, if you will. And I think that's what was so beautiful in what I learned from her. So I'm grateful for her. Also, my friend Judy, she's the one who introduced me to Michael Phillips and the George MacDonald edited books, where he went through and he didn't rewrite the stories, but he kind of rewrote the dialect so that it wasn't so heavily Scott, where you're having a hard time reading some of the words, and made it flow easier for an American audience, basically was what he did. And just the depth of the words and the stories and everything. She's the one who introduced, I read her books, her physical copies first, and then started buying my own at almost the same time. And these are very close together. I'm going to say 93 through 96. I met all of these people somewhere around there, maybe 90, 92, 93, somewhere in there. Through that, I mean, it's just a really tight-knit time. But after Judy, not long after Judy, I met Ricky, and Ricky was amazing. She and I loved the same books. She's the one who introduced me to Dee Henderson. She's the one who introduced me to Michael Phillips's Secret of the Rose series, and I recognized his name from the George MacDonald's that Judy had introduced me to, and so there was like this overlap. But we would read books. We read Lori Wick's Rocky Mountain series, and we both had, if I recall correctly, I might be getting us mixed up. I might be getting it mixed up with her daughter, her younger daughter, but I think we both really loved two of them, and not so much the other two. The other two were way too sappy for us. But the one with Pup Jennings, I can just see the title. But the one with Pup Jennings, so good. And the one with the gal who was like the governess, she had red hair, and I learned from her so much how to delight in children. I didn't have that before I read that book, and it didn't just take effect and suddenly I was just this, overcome with my love for children, but it did like spark this seed that slowly grew. And that was something she had this ability to interact with children that I wanted. And so I learned a lot from it. But those three people, they all encouraged me to look at books as a way to grow personally, spiritually, intellectually, the whole nine yards, in addition to just enjoying reading. Up until that, people who had encouraged me with books, it had been about the reading rather than the taking from it as much. I don't know how else to put it, but there you have it. So, but since it was all, like this close period of time, it's such a good thing, and I am pretty sure that all of them know each other in some form. They may not have known each other well, but they had surely interacted at some point, which I think is kind of neat. That was a very good time in my reading life. Okay, here's the thing. This one I was really having trouble with, because my brain was trying to go, what was the best, instead of what am I most grateful for? Or not even the most. It doesn't have to be the most. Just what book. The question is, what book purchase am I grateful for from this year? And there's so many, but it's interesting that I have a few right here. And they're all kind of, this is really hard. I don't know how to say this because I have one that I've been looking forward to ever since I found out it was going to exist, and it just came in. Let Earth Receive Her King by Beg. And if I was most grateful for one book this year, I'm guessing it would be this one because, you know, last year I still have them. I still have the devotionals, the Advent things for last year that I bought and was not able to do because it was just such a hard. I wasn't even home for half the month, right? But and my plan originally had been, I'm just going to do that next year. And then I saw this and I wanted, this one it called to me and I wanted to do it. And I was like, no, I have all those that didn't get to last year. And then I thought about it and I was like, I'm going to feel like I have to do those if I insist on, well, I didn't do it last year, so I'm going to do it this year. And I was like, you know what? Those are getting set aside. The year that I go, oh, I want to do that one is the year that I'll do those. And I'm not gonna try to make it into a, you know, gotta catch up. Because that's what it feels like. And I don't like that. So I decided to let myself buy Alistair Begg's Let Earth Receive Her King. And it's got a lot in it. It's got just, you know, Advent readings, but it also has poems and prayers. And I'm looking forward to this so much. It was really hard not to just start, you know, kind of peeking into it. I'm like, no. So I'm not just grateful for this book, like this is the book I'm most grateful for because it's going to be the most amazing thing ever. It's not just that I'm looking forward to this book, but the release that I got from the have to that I don't ever want to feel when I'm reading about things that point me to Christ. Hello? I don't want that feeling. I mean, ugh. So because of that, I would say I'm most grateful for this one. But technically they're books. If I took out that and I just went for something that is a book, I have to say from that subscription box, these little, they're so cute. I love these things so much. And technically they are books. Although, you know, I don't really like having my elastics wrapped around it when I don't need it because it just wears them out. So I don't know why I haven't already pulled this off, but yeah. So I have these, they're super cute. One is gray dot grid and one is craft dot grid. Dot grid is my jam. I love this so much. So technically they're books, and because technically they're books, I would, there's dust on there. What? I would, oh, we had a windstorm. That would do it. So book. Yeah, there. I have a mini haul here that I could go through, but I'm looking for, you know, what am I most grateful for? What purchase, you know, am I just super grateful for? And really, because of all that it goes with it, this, but yeah. Finally, I wanted to talk just a little bit about it, so I decided to make this the last one. It looks like I have 7, so it's like a perfect number here. But I was like, why am I grateful for reading? And I really had to think about if I wanted to do that, because this could get long-winded and I don't want it to. And then I realized I probably said this before, so I don't have to go into great depth and detail. I can just reiterate what I've said before. So reading is how I process life. It's how I process truths, things I understand, things I don't understand, all of that stuff. Reading is how I process. So when it comes to so when I was a kid, we would do math, and you would read the lesson. And then you would do sample problems. And at the end of the sample problems, there'd be a couple of word problems where you would apply it to, you know, actual life things, right? Well, I would read the lesson. Then I would go read those word problems. Then I'd go back and reread the lesson. Then I would do the problems. Because those word problems, those story problems, remember story problems? Those help me understand that math lesson that otherwise was pretty Greekish to me. And so, I mean, I actually understood Greek better than algebra. That is not an exaggeration. I took Greek in high school and I understood it more than I understood algebra. I loved math as a kid. I really did actually love it. I just wasn't any good at it. But if I would read that lesson and I'd go to the story problem, I understood what that lesson was trying to drive me toward. And I could like interact, and then I could go back and reread it and it would like cement stuff. It's just, anytime I didn't do that, I really floundered. And then I would go, oh, I haven't read the story problems yet. I should do that. You know, because sometimes it'd be on another page or a few pages over. Sometimes they didn't have story problems until way 3 lessons down the road, and then it applied to everything, and I would have to go find those. It was a mess. But so reading for me is how I process life. It's how I look at, you know, I study the scriptures, and it says to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And you're like, how does that work? Because obviously Christ did the work on the cross. So I'm not like working for my salvation. I'm working out. So those are 2 very different prepositions. What does this mean? So, but then when I see other people working through their Christian life, and you see it, oh, wait, this is a sanctification process. So the working out your salvation with fear and trembling is, you know, there's going to be a sanctification process. And then you can start seeing it all come together. You know, when I read about people who had deeply devoted prayer lives based on scripted prayers, you know, I think about Jane Austen, and I'm like, she clearly had a genuine faith, and this is how it played out in her life. And my dog is snoring. But, you know, it just made all the difference. And it's how I process. And I love that fiction does that. I love that I can pick up a book like this Brothers Karamazov and go, wow. You know, and have that in-depth thing that when I start reading scripture and I remember that book, I was like, oh, that's how someone can apply this. That's what that book was getting at. And I missed it in the book, but reading the scripture points me to the book, which pointed me to the scripture. It's beautiful. And so that's why I'm grateful for reading, because it helps me process life. So that's what I got for you. The 7 things that I'm grateful for bookish wise this Thanksgiving season. I'm also grateful for daughters who make amazing homemade tomato soup that is sitting in my fridge, and the fact that I have the stuff to make a really good Swiss and cheddar grilled cheese sandwich. So I'm gonna just mosey on into the house and get me some dinner because I'm starving. And yeah, I hope I'll see you Thursday unless some other fun, exciting thing happens. And happy reading. I hope you'll pick up this one, but we'll talk more about that later. Bye.